Hey folks, how's it going? Today we're talking about Elio. The worst opening weekend for Pixar in its entire history. Worse than Elemental, worse than Onward, and somehow worse than, yes, even The Good Dinosaur. Yeah, you remember that movie? From 10 years ago? Of course you don't. Nobody does. But you want to know whose fault it is for this historical box office flop? Animation fans like you and me. If only we gave a damn, then perhaps we could have helped this fledgling company called Disney. I mean, it only has a $200 billion market cap? You can't pin this one on them, folks. It's the day the Earth blew up all over again. But yeah, this is 100% Disney's fault. They threw this movie right under the bus, as it virtually had no marketing. That budget most likely went to the Lilo and Stitch remake. But Disney's like, hey, what are you talking about? We did the cardboard cutout at the theater for Elio. Check it out. Look, we promoted it. Just like Lilo and Stitch. Yeah, not even the same ballpark. No, they did not try at all. And I think we need to look at this moment as a definitive case study and realize that more often than not, distributors, such as Disney, get cold feet when it comes to throwing their weight behind marketing when it comes to original ideas. Which makes me wonder, why greenlight these movies to begin with? Oh yeah, that's right. Tax write-offs. That being said, was the movie actually any good? Well, yeah, kind of. I liked it, but I didn't love it. There's some fun moments here and there, plus some heartfelt scenes, but overall, this movie kind of misses its mark. It feels like Elio could have been much more. But after discovering its troubled production history, I kind of realize why Elio has found itself in its current situation. So, let's find out.
Gordon, I am not fireproof!
Why didn't you say something?
Gordon!
Just get in my mouth. It's actually kind of comfy in here. It is? I've never been in there.
Real quick, I want to talk about our beloved partners at Helix Sleep and their awesome sale they've got going on right now. Guys, I've said it before, but I'll say it again, it is summertime. And with summer comes the summer heat, which can make sleeping a bit more difficult. It's no surprise, I'm a bigger guy, so I tend to sleep hotter than others do, which can make getting comfortable at night a bit difficult. You know, stick like one leg out of the blankets while the other half of you is covered. You know what I'm saying, right? You all get it, especially the heavy guys in the audience. I'm looking into a mirror. That being said, the folks at Helix Sleep have been able to tackle that problem with their Glacio Tex cooling covers. And it's definitely made an impact on regulating heat while I sleep. And this cool innovation can be enjoyed in comfort, knowing that Helix mattresses aren't made of fiberglass, which can be detrimental to your health. I remember as a kid, I opened an umbrella and a bunch of fiberglass came out, and it was the worst pain in my entire life. It was all over my hands. It was a bad call. I was a stupid child. Helix has been a part of my sleep journey for many years now, and I've even got members of my team and family to make the switch. Helix is a premium mattress maker that offers a lineup of 20 different mattresses that can suit all types of unique sleeping preferences and are shipped right to your front door. Everybody is different, and Helix knows that. You can take their patented sleep quiz, which lines you up with a mattress that will be perfect for you. Once you've got your mattress, you can try it for up to 100 days to make sure you are completely satisfied. And if not, Helix makes it easy to switch out your mattress for another. When I took the quiz, it lined me up with the Midnight Lux, since I tend to sleep more on my side. And let me tell you, I've been having the best sleep of my life. I mean that. This mattress is incredible. It's the best one I've ever had. I swear by it 100% legit. I love it. So for those of you looking to upgrade your current mattress, Helix Sleep has a selection of excellent mattress toppers, all of which can suit a variety of sleeping applications. Helix has something for just about anybody. And now is a great time to check out what Helix can offer for your journey towards better sleep. So head on over to helixsleep.com/Saberspark or click on the link in the description box down below to take advantage of our exclusive 4th of July partnership deal and get 27% off store-wide. Doing so helps us out, as well as getting you started on a journey towards better sleep. Thanks again to Helix for sponsoring this video, and now back to the video.
Are you prepared to become the greatest war machine in the universe?
Oh no.
All right, so what's this movie about? Heads up, spoilers! Spoilers, you know, the spoilers in this review. You good? All right, here we go. Elio is a lonely young boy who's completely obsessed with aliens and does everything he can to get in contact with them. After the recent death of his parents, he's living with his aunt Olga, who works at an Air Force base. But she's overwhelmed adapting to the whole parenting thing. It wasn't her choice, but she's stepping up to the plate. After several costly accidents at work, Olga takes him to a boarding school to make some new friends. However, a transmission Elio sent out reaches a vast network of aliens who gladly bring him into their own system. That is called the Communiverse. And it's basically the UN for a huge group of alien ambassadors who all work together to keep peace in the galaxy. They mistakenly believe Elio is the leader of Earth and offer to let him join their group. By the way, it's kind of funny that these aliens show up to Earth and they're like, I don't think they did any homework on Earth. They even got the golden disc, which should have adults on there. It's kind of weird they didn't know that Elio was a child. Like, how did they not know that? Whatever. Suspending disbelief. I'll shut up now. However, they will only take him on as a member if he can fend off the attacks of Lord Gragon, a rejected member sworn on vengeance against the Communiverse. They agree, making a clone of Elio and sending it back to Earth in his place. Elio attempts to negotiate with Lord Gragon, but accidentally insults his parenting, sending him to the dungeon. Elio escapes through a corridor and meets Glorden, Gragon's son, who has no interest in becoming a warlord like his father. Instead, Elio convinces Glorden to return to the Communiverse with him, acting as a bargaining chip for Gragon to stand down. Back on Earth, Elio's clone has none of his quirks and adapts quickly to new social situations. Olga brings him home from camp and takes notice of this, realizing her nephew was taken into space and has to find a way to get him home. Meanwhile, Elio and Glorden have become fast friends and relate to each other. They bond over the feeling like they don't fit in on their own planets. Elio decides to help Glorden by making a clone of him to take his place so they can keep hanging out in the Communiverse. But this attempt backfires, with Gragon immediately realizing that Glorden was a clone and retaliates against the Communiverse. He forces one of the ambassadors, Questa, to read Elio's mind and reveal where the real Glorden is hiding. By the way, again, the Communiverse, it's like, so they're the epitome of the universe, but they kind of get swept aside pretty easily by Gragon, so why does he care about joining them? I don't know, it's kind of weird. There could have been some more world building here. Doing this also reveals that Elio was lying to the ambassadors the entire time. They send him back to Earth through a portal. At the same time, Glorden accidentally sends himself to Earth and Elio's ship while evading his father. Elio winds up on a beach back home and tearfully reunites with Olga. They patch up their relationship, but realize that Glorden has crash-landed on the Air Force base. Which Air Force? Yeah, you know the one. I'm pretty sure they're American. I'm pretty sure. Using Elio's clone as a distraction, which is, by the way, like a really terrifyingly scary scene. I actually was like kind of taken aback by how scary that moment was. It was good. Elio and Olga break into the ship and protect Glorden from being captured by the government. They manage to turn the ship back on and try to escape Earth's atmosphere, but they are repeatedly hit by satellites. They warp back to the Communiverse as Elio returns an extremely weak Glorden back to his father, who warms him up with his own silk string stuff. Vowing to visit them again someday, Elio returns to Earth with Olga, and the movie ends with that powerful Carl Sagan quote that even made me a little teary-eyed. So, before I get too critical, let's get into some of the strengths of this film. First off, I think the character designs for the aliens is pretty cool. Not fantastic, but good. You can tell the character designers had a lot of fun combining different creatures together to make them look intriguing. Like for Quest, you get this sea slug energy going on. She looked cool. But actually, I will critique the film here. A lot of these aliens, there's not much to them. They're just kind of a committee who's like, hello, Elio. And now, goodbye, Elio, or we have issues. I wish we could have gotten to know them a bit more. But my favorite alien by far was Glorden. He was such a bundle of energy, and watching his friendship evolve with Elio was very sweet. Plus his design was it was weird, it was unique, I liked it, it was oddly kind of cute. Sort of like if a caterpillar was mashed up with Chowder from Cartoon Network. Also, hey, no eyes, that's a bold choice. But it works. That decision took guts.
Gordon?
We're vulnerables! No, say the other thing. Oh, we're vulnerable! Quiet, you!
Now, the environments all looked great, but I really wish we could have spent more time in the Communiverse or even on other planets. The way the section of the Communiverse was laid out kind of reminded me of plant and animal cells, with all their weird tubes and cross-sections becoming different areas to explore. I think Zootopia did it better with their city and their setting being more realized compared to Elio with the Communiverse. Because mostly, we just see a lot of it through montages or brief moments with the ambassadors showing Elio around. We don't really get enough time to linger and appreciate the scenery for too long. And also, I like the theme of Are We Alone? And how that plays on both a micro and macro level with the character of Elio and also with Earth. This is one of the most asked questions in human history, period. And I appreciate how the movie incorporates it into its main character. But I just wish it went a bit further. I don't know how to describe it, but it felt like there was more on the table to explore here, but we didn't really get that. I wish we could have explored it a bit more. But I think the biggest weaknesses by far are the story itself and the pacing. Overall, the story feels like a few different concepts jumbled together, but certain things kind of just have to happen for them to get from point A to point B. Sometimes literally. I don't like to use the term plot convenience, but that's how it feels when those moments happen. Again, something happens, and then we immediately have to get to the next thing happening. There's no sense of discovery, just that they have to work within a time limit to get there as fast as possible. Elio is only 90 minutes long, but the entire film feels like it's speedrunning, getting to the big emotional beats you would expect them to hit in a Pixar movie. Sure, I appreciated how they handled discussing loneliness and the dangers of relying on escapism. Because yeah, that's become a much bigger issue for both kids and adults these days. But I really think it could have used a few more scenes to expand on the emotional circumstances between Elio and his aunt. Maybe just a bit more of his former relationship with his parents before they passed away, or Olga's life before Elio came to live with her. Personally, I liked what was introduced with Olga and Elio, but it needed more fleshing out. It felt similar to Nani and Lilo and Stitch, but not nearly as good or as well told. Their chemistry is far more interesting compared to Elio and Olga. Honestly, I was kind of struggling to figure out who this movie is for audience-wise. I think it's trying to hit that sweet spot of boys ages 6 to 12, but they get into some pretty technical concepts relating to space that I think will turn some audiences off, just because of how specific they are. Do kids these days like ham radio and Carl Sagan? I mean, it'd be kind of cool if they did. But in my experience, not really. I got some nieces and a nephew. I ask about, hey, Carl Sagan, they're like, who? Huh? Who's that? Personally, I liked it. I thought it was kind of cool. But I doubt I'm Pixar's primary demographic, the coveted, sad, childless millennial market. Ooh. Moreover, the finished film we got is incredibly different from what they originally showed in the first teaser trailer. Instead of being his mom, Olga becomes his aunt. Instead of being freaked out by aliens, Elio is overjoyed to be taken by them. Instead of already being in the Communiverse, Lord Gragon becomes the antagonist. The finished film felt noticeably scaled down from how it was originally being presented. And I was struggling to figure out why that felt so off. So I did some research, and it turns out the story for Elio's development is complicated. But many of the issues surrounding it boil down to, you guessed it, money. Disney had one of their worst years at the box office in 2023. Elemental was a slow burner sleeper hit thanks to good word of mouth, but the real stinker of the year for them was Wish. And yeah, obviously, it was a bad movie. But even Disney was not prepared for those box office returns. It only made $255 million worldwide, against a budget of roughly $185 million. That is pitiful by their standards. And of course, they would go into panic mode, scrambling to restructure their film roster leading into 2024. The only major productions that would be getting any attention were high-profile sequels that would be crunched to hell to make their release date. Disney was feeling less confident about putting an original Pixar story to theaters and opted to release Inside Out 2 first, pushing Elio's release date to summer 2025. They were operating on an extremely limited time frame, but somehow pulled it off, with Inside Out 2 becoming the highest-grossing animated movie of all time. Until Nezha 2 claimed that title. I saw it in theaters earlier this year, and I can confirm that movie made over $2 billion for a reason, cause it rocks. It's like a Chinese fanfic on steroids. To say that Disney and Pixar had some bubbling tension in their partnership would be a huge understatement. But one constant that has been following them is Disney's neglect of promoting original Pixar films. One way or another, they've been sidelined, with the biggest issues coming down to theatrical releases and marketing. And now, Elio became their next feature to be plagued with the same issues. And while I don't know if it's totally fair to blame whatever issues Elio has on a change in direction, it's also the third case of this happening at Pixar, with pretty negative consequences tied to it. Both Brave and The Good Dinosaur had later stage changes in directors, which did end up impacting the overall strength of the story and their longevity as films with both critics and audiences. The original director was Adrian Molina, who had previously worked on Coco, co-writing the screenplay and co-directing it with Lee Unkrich. Adrian had been developing Elio as his passion project, incorporating a lot of his own personal experiences tied to the story, including having a lonely childhood and growing up on a military base. Co-director Madeline Sharafian explained in an article just how important developing Elio was to him, stating, quote, "When he was first coming up with the story, Adrian talked about the moment where he went to animation college at Cal Arts for the first time, and how all of a sudden he felt like he'd found his people, he found his world. That's like Elio's journey from Earth up to the Communiverse, which is this magical space with aliens from everywhere." End quote. However, Adrian had to drop off working on it once Disney started developing Coco 2. By the way, there's going to be Coco 2. I'm not sure how. She died. So yeah, clearly Disney wanted another monster hit on their hand and was willing to push Elio aside in the process. With that, Molina was replaced by Madeline and Dome Shi, but still retains a co-directing credit for his work. So the whole situation, pivoting this film from one team to another, was going to be weird no matter what. Look, I can't imagine how they felt being assigned onto someone else's deeply personal passion project. And they were clearly doing their best trying to make sense of it. Dome Shi discussed their approach strategy, stating, quote, "We were just on the side, but kind of involved a little bit creatively in the beginning when Adrian was first developing it. Then he entrusted Maddie and myself to finish what he started. It's like we were handed a box of toys, and we had to figure out how to tell the best story in the most meaningful and entertaining way with them." End quote. Uphill battle to have, I don't envy that. And the creativity is absolutely there, but the issues with changing the structure and the story were going to be a problem. The script had 3 writers in total: Julia Cho, Mark Hammer, and Mike Jones. Julia is best known for her work as a playwright in the early 2000s, but she was also a screenwriter for Big Love, Fringe, and Turning Red, which she co-wrote with Dome Shi. Mark was a screenwriter for romantic comedies like Two Night Stand and Shotgun Wedding. And Mike here is best known for his work co-writing other Pixar projects like Soul, Luca, and Dream Productions. That's a pretty wide range of projects, but they seem to have trouble finding a more grounded story. No pun intended, I promise you that was not a pun. Okay, maybe it was, but I think that's the tragedy of this movie. I don't really understand why they had to change so much from the original teaser. There's still some fun concepts and unique world building in the finished movie, but it doesn't feel as seamless as Pixar's other films. And maybe if they were given more time, or Adrian was able to stay on for the whole production, we could have had another classic on our hands. But as it is, Elio is mostly a harmless watch, but it's pretty average by comparison of Pixar standards, running in the middle of the pack of their catalog. Disney clearly has very little faith in it too. When a brand new movie only has 5 products available on the official Disney Store website, you know they're trying to sweep this one under the rug as fast as possible and move on to something else. Disney seems to be writing Elio off as a sacrificial lamb for greater things to come. Like, you better believe they're gonna market the hell out of Toy Story 5 for next year. But what was a deeply personal film became warped into Pixar's Lilo and Stitch without the same highly marketable characters to sell toys. My hope from here is that they're able to get some kind of freedom from the mouse Otherwise, Disney will keep drowning them in sequels from here to eternity. I don't want to live in a world that makes Toy Story 8 the search for more V-Bucks. Yeah, I know there's the next movie, it's supposed to be like, what, some brain rot, like, iPad is the villain or something? I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised. But the big takeaway here is acknowledging that when a movie fails, you can't just blame audiences for not caring. Why? Because there's a good chance they don't even know. I asked my friend, who's a dad, I also even asked his daughter, hey, have you heard of Elio? And they were like, no, what's that? And yeah, that basically convinced me that this is Disney's fault with their lack of marketing, point blank. Disney, you gotta grow a spine again, or you will be stuck in reboot and sequel hell. Except for Zootopia 2, I want that one, that would be good. But hey folks, those are just my thoughts. What did you all think? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you all next time.